What looks weird to me is that the latest announcement is 2023. I'm not seeing any announcements about 2024, and it's yearly that there are new appointments. And this system started in the late 80s, but it's announced every January. It says right here, January 26th. So we've already gone through January 26th, yet the Shreveport Times has not made any announcements for January 26th, which gives the impression that maybe Barber is no longer the president and somebody else is. But I tried to look up the Louisiana the Judges Association for 2024, and there's nothing. It's only referring back to 2023. It's like this has gone secret as well, and it's questionable what's going on with these guys. So the latest is 2023. If Barber was announced in 2024, I think the newspaper would have picked up on it. And I've been looking through the Louisiana Supreme Court's information, and they got a ton. They got about 15 of these committees. One committee, called Strategic Planning Committee, is empty, and it's saying it needs to be reviewed, so they need to fill that at some point. But apparently they don't see it as important to keep this seat filled with a judge on a yearly basis. Every several years it needs to be reviewed, so they'll bring a judge in just to review it every several years. Gives me the impression that they just have no strategy. They have no clear strategy to work with here. That's unfortunate. So it just gives the impression of a bad act of them acting under the table with a lot of things. And then I have this other article here. Let's see. Judges Association, and is announced 2023. Yeah, this is just more of the beginning of the article for Brian Barber. So he's outside of his election cycle on Ballotpedia, and he's outside of his election cycle for being president. So how is he? How are they like rationalizing his position right now? All right, I question that. How are they rationalizing his position? And the Supreme Court gives annual report, which they're actually keeping up on, and this goes back to 1998. I got 2023 here. I'm not sure when 24 comes out. They give some insight into activities within their judicial system. Anybody can look at. A lot of this is very skippable. Protective orders. They get the judges issue protective orders, so every time that's done, they count it. Drug issues, children, teaching the community stuff, whatever that may be, a college, clerk of courts do some work. Now, I would wonder how they look at Judge Ousley's clerk of court, who is not recording. And actually, they say, and I can go down, actually, I know that it's below, where they say that the city court is the court of record where they actually record it. They do not retry cases in the appeals court. But you can have issues with Judge Ousley's court, who's not even recording. They're not a court of record. And then furthermore, the court of record says that you have to ask them to record. All right, so it's like they're the court of the court of a record if you ask. Okay, they're the court of asked record because they just refuse to record sometimes, and then they blame it on the equipment. And this is like the head clerk of court here, and it'd be nice to hear her opinion on the city court in Natchitoches not recording in the court of record. These people are probably a little bit more on top of it and can educate the Natchitoches City Courts on not missing a recording of a trial that's conducted on Zoom. Most likely Zoom. I mean, I don't know of any other software being used by the courts besides Zoom. And when you hold a trial on Zoom, how do you lose the record? Okay? How do you lose it? Is there another program? I don't know of any. I mean, in all the states that I've been in, from North Dakota to Kentucky, it's always been Zoom. So anything else is is questionable. I don't think it was anything else. I just think that I mean, how far back do Zoom records go? This is a couple of years ago that Judge Ousley didn't record a couple of trials, a few trials, and at least one was on Zoom. How far back do the Zoom recordings go? They could possibly get it still. They could be misleading us into thinking that it's just, that's it. It's all gone. These judges don't seem to spend a whole lot on travel. And I don't know how to bring up Judge Ousley's travel expenses. I got to look at him a little bit. And he's definitely spending more than 0.85% on his travels. So in comparison to the Supreme Court and how they spend their money, Judge Ousley's percentages look a lot different as a city judge. And this is interesting how they can break it down like this. Most money goes to the salaries. I'd expect that to be the majority of city courts in Natchitoches money to go to. They got a pie chart to show all those charges. And then the state budget and how much the Supreme Court's costing the whole state. They're showing that it's just a small amount here. Mostly money goes to the hospitals and education, judiciary. They're saying it's less than 0.5%, they're saying, out of billions, 50 trillion, 50 billion. That's, 1 million trillion, 50 trillion. They're saying they only spend $200 million. And that's just through the appeals and Supreme Court. That's not even including the city courts, as far as I know, because below they talk about the city courts. Bar admissions for the lawyers. They discipline the lawyers. However, Judge Ousley was not disciplined, all right? He wasn't put up before the disciplinary board. He got a case turned back to him based on his denying me a lawyer, but that was not recognized. Okay, you have to file it with this disciplinary board, and there's probably like a time limit for that. So they have a disciplinary board that you have to file with. Let's see. I thought they have detailed they've done for nearly 3 decades. Let's see, high quality education. Well, okay, they're self-regulating. They police their own, not just through the agency, but just the work that lawyers do. Reflects self-evident observations. Justify the faith placed in members. Let's see, okay, and then you could look up information about them more. The Judiciary Commission, I don't think I read this very closely. They censors, so they filed notices. This court publicly censored one judge. Something about discipline. There's actual examples of discipline that they placed upon lawyers and judges. They censored a judge for improper ex parte communication with the district attorney. Well, Judge Dowsley does that on a daily basis. But how do they prove it? Okay, that's the challenge, is proving this activity. I mean, Judge Dowsley communicated stuff he knew outside of my case, outside of my trial, right in my sentencing speech, talking about people contacting everybody, the librarians and all that. But where was your proof on that? That's ex parte. That's something that could be brought before the Judiciary Commission. There's other examples. Stuff that's even less important than my issue with Judge Dowsley. Admonishment, conducting an independent investigation in connection with future claims, threatening arrest for failure to comply with a judgment of eviction. That was an admonishment for somebody. Somebody doing a racial slur. A racial slur was enough for an admonishment. But what about denying people lawyers? Okay, that's a little bit serious. Besides a racial slur, I mean, I would put it in a category high up there, probably above racial slurs. They're just saying of a racial slur, not multiple racial slurs. Commission cautioned 11 judicial officers. Okay, judicial officers. Caution, okay. So these were the admonishments. Those are the more serious ones. That's where Judge Dowsley should be. And then you got these lesser ones, which are much lesser than denying a lawyer to defendants. Something about disparaging speculative accusation against an attorney. Let's see, remarks indicating unwillingness to dismiss a matter. I mean, yeah, Judge Dowsley said that. He said he's never letting my case go. Let's see, employing an immediate family member. Let's see, delay in issuing a ruling following trial. Failure to report. Let's see, contempt fine be paid. Oh, he caution issued for directing that a contempt fine be paid to an entity other than the court. So they wanted to pay like some other organization. Improperly ordering an appearance bond forfeited and applying it towards judgment debt. None of these are as serious as denying somebody a lawyer. Caution issued for failure to self-recuse when recusal is mandated by law. So Judge Dowsley did not risk that. Let's see, issued for failure to respond to litigants regarding the status of a case. Okay, failing to act appropriately in response to a credible fire alarm while court was in session. So they just kind of kept going through with the court proceedings, even when a fire alarm was going off. How serious is that? Let's see, contacting law enforcement to obtain information regarding a family member. Let's see, improperly amending an eviction petition. So where's something about like illegally denying us a lawyer? Okay, where's that? I don't see any concern about this from this judge's Judiciary Commission. I don't see any concern about denying us lawyers in here. All right, it's just that people are not complaining because we don't have lawyers and we don't know how to make these complaints. Judicial District. Now what I'm looking at is I'm in I'm fighting Natchitoches, and that's in Appeals Court 3. And now I got a judge from Caddo Parish in Appeals Court 2 coming down. So it's like the influence of Appeals Court 2 is coming to oversee Appeals Court 3. And it's all supposed to work in good order. When we're crossing over appeals, we're crossing over parishes, we're crossing over voting districts, we're crossing over appeals courts. It's ridiculous how they cross over so much. It's like elect a mayor in one city so that he can work in another city. How do the voters feel about that? Why even bother voting? That's why there's so much corruption. Supreme Court districts. Let's see, branch of government. Okay, so we got Supreme Court, 7 justices. Court of Appeals, 53. District Court, 235. That's the majority. So why have district courts in the purple section? Why not be the bottom? They're the greater numbers. I don't think Louisiana can correlate weights with numbers there, because the city courts. That's the thing though. They're saying there's only 72 city judges. I think that they don't want to count the non-elected judges who are still working. So that's a concern. All right. This shows that the pool should be smaller for city judges, and to take a city judge from Shreveport and bring him over to Natchitoches for my case, you're taking from a smaller pool than you are from the district courts. My case should be staying in Natchitoches and just going to a district judge. Where does it say parish? They're only saying parish on the bottom here, district court. My case should be going to a district court. Why they don't choose a district court is beyond me. Because the way they even describe it, further down, there's 36 pages in this pamphlet. They're describing it as though a district court can hear my case. They describe it one way, but then conduct themselves in another, clearly. Let's see. Power to interpret the Constitution, district court, city, other court. They don't recognize mayor's courts, though. They don't. That's the court that is the shameful court that they want to ignore. Mayor's courts. That's why they don't even count it. They'll just call it city or parish. They probably don't even add mayor's courts. It's too much of an embarrassment for them. I wonder if in the past, if they've mentioned mayor's courts in any of they have all the old pamphlets available to look at. Look at 1998 and see if they have mayor's court in there. That'd be something. I think there's more city judges working. Now, why do they say 67 city court judges with a 6-year term, 5 parish court judges. Okay, but yeah, some of these judges appear to be working outside of their election terms and then not being counted. All right, so it's actually, I think it's a faulty system here that they're just not counting. All right, let's see. I go down further to look at more about the city court stuff, because there's actually, the Court of Appeals. I didn't really see anything of great interest. Let's see, Court of Appeals. They just mostly refusing writs and classifying pretty serious charges with 6-month prison sentences as just a writ, only the level of a writ. So how they classify things is really unfair. Let's see, they just kind of break down the courts. Let's let's see, district courts. Yeah, the trial court of general jurisdiction is the district courts. They generally have authority to handle all civil and criminal cases. So they could handle my case. They're saying it in their pamphlet. They're saying they can handle all the cases. It's just their attitudes about how they really want to act. They say one thing and then do another. Civil cases, criminal proceeding, a person is charged with a crime and brought to trial, either found guilty or not guilty. The purpose of a criminal case is to punish the person who violates criminal laws. The purpose of a criminal case is to figure out if the person is guilty. They just want to punish the accused. Now that's pretty sick, what they're saying there. They're sick in the head, if that's how they want to describe it. Increase in filings, juvenile filings. Alright, innovation. 70 judges take an active role in drug courts. Okay. Alright, juvenile stuff. They got it breaking down by the city. Juvenile court again. Family court. That's a big issue. It's got a section on its own. City. Okay. The city courts are courts of record. Unless if you were in Judge Ousley's courts, then they might record it, they might not. But I think it's the whole state. They've made a decision that you have to request a recording. All right, that's that's weird how they conduct themselves with that. The court is a court of record upon request. You request that it be a court of record. You don't assume that they're just going to record. That's decisions are reviewed on appeal, on the record. Oh yeah, and they don't want to retry, so they have to record. Or, you know, what's the appeals court going to use? The appeals court can't hear the case again all over. They just have to look at what was recorded, but if they're not recording anything, like Judge Ousley's claiming that it's just a failure of the equipment, then what's the appeals court to do? Concurrence with district. Yeah, look at that. City courts, this is once again, they say one thing and do another. City courts generally exercise concurrent jurisdiction with the district courts. In civil cases, in criminal matters, they generally have jurisdiction over ordinances and misdemeanors, generally. But the district court, like they said above, that they handle all cases. And when Judge Ousley recuses himself, that means I can go to district court. All right? It's stupid to have a city judge who's working outside of his elected authority, who's a president outside of his elected authority from another district, another parish, brought in to work my case with an election pool of people who don't know who he is. Did he even step foot ever? Has he ever been in Natchitoches, okay, before? Is this the first time Judge Barber's ever coming to visit Natchitoches? It could be. And that would be alarming. To have a judge who doesn't know the city at all come in and then just sit in Judge Ousley's seat and be the judge. I mean, you can't expect him to operate in a very efficient manner outside of his reign. I mean, he's been working in Shreveport for so many years, even outside his election cycle. He knows all of his clerks of courts. He doesn't know a single clerk of court in Natchitoches. Ask him to name a single clerk of court in Natchitoches. He doesn't know them, and suddenly you just got to start working with them. They're recording his proceedings. They're filing all his paperwork. you know, that he's got to read. He's got a certain way he wants to do things, but he's got to take on the work from. And why not bring in the district attorney from Shreveport too while we're at it? Have him help out Cloyd and Billy Joe Harrington with this, with my case. This is just ridiculous how they're crossing over so incredibly much. So, all right, that's pretty much it for information that I've been looking at. It's just expiration after expiration, crossover after crossover, confusion upon confusion for categories. They say one thing, they do another with their report, and it's really frustrating to deal with this. So, I mean, if somebody understands the system better than me, I'd really like to learn. I'm here to learn. All right, I'm not just here to complain. I'm complaining because I don't understand, and there's just not enough explanation of what's going on. They're not going to explain it at my next hearing. We're not going to have a little sit down and understand how Barber's sitting in the position that he is. He's not going to explain that. It's all going to be about me. I'm the one who's at fault here. And they have such a ridiculous system. All right, I'm trying to understand how they're working the system here. So I got a new judge named Brian Barber, and he had an election cycle that ended in 2020. So he's still an active judge, but he's not working in an election term. Now, why is that? It doesn't make sense. It's like, all right, why don't we just keep the mayors? You know, let a mayor fill in for the current mayor. The previous elected mayor can serve for the current mayor at any time, right? Is that the type of system that they're enforcing here? This weird political system. Back in 2020, let's see, Brian Barber was the treasurer. All right, just 4 years ago. And he was actually appointed this position, or elected. Let's see, elects new officers. So the city Judge Association, as press released by the Supreme Court, can elect. How many people elect these people? Is it the city judges who elect? I don't understand the election process for the City Judges Association. But he was the treasurer then in 2020. He was within his election cycle because it was in January of 2020 that he was elected that. So that's legitimate, but then it should have ended, right? His appointment. This looks legitimate. Okay, these for what it says, and I mean, is Ballotpedia reliable? I think it is. I mean, you certainly can't trust Louisiana's take on things. They want to hide information all the time. So here's treasurer then, and I came across this. This is for the 2023. So 3 years after his election cycle, he's still getting year after year. It's only good for a year being appointed this position as a part of the Judges Association. So for 3 years at least now, he's been the president, and he's not working in his election cycle. Like, I mean, he apparently he ran unopposed, and I forget if that said it here. somewhere else said that he was unopposed. But I think that what's more appropriate is if he's put in the Retired Judges Association instead. Because if you're outside of your election cycle, then you're a retired person. He's working within his election cycle, yet he's still getting appointed as president, like as a working judge. So then, what does retirement mean for a judge? It seems odd how there's this outside of the election situation, and then really you're outside of your working outside your elected term, and then really working outside your elected term. There's like levels to this, so it's a category that they recognize, but they don't seem to be too quick to put people into that category.